Hi, everyone. So, what is it that we need to know? What is it that we need to know this coming week on Wall Street? But before I start, one thing very important. This channel is catering to educate you as far as understanding what's happening in the stock market. It also gives you a perspective. I'm not here to give you a bunch of stocks and a bunch of things that you need to do and do these things, then you're going to make money. This is not what it's about. But this is about is educate you. So maybe you use it for your job. Maybe you use it for your stocks. Maybe you use it to make money. I don't really care. The end of the day is I want you to be educated. This is one educator to a bunch of students. That's the idea. And happens to be a bunch of investors, right? In the US right now, being successful at doing what I'm doing, did a bunch of real estate deals, stock portfolios, investments, teaching to the crowds. So I kind of understand the topic, right? But at the end of the day, it a lot of has to do with luck, and a lot has to do with education. So you need to educate yourself, right? But also of importance is you need to have a perspective as to what is going on, a perspective of where we come from and where we're going. This is not the most easy topic, as I always say. It is not the most easy topic because everybody could get into it, everybody understands it, but nobody knows what to do with it. At the end of the day, a couple of simple rules. Make sure you buy when everybody is selling. Make sure that you're the first one to understand things that nobody has seen yet. So obviously, we're not going to follow the crowd. We're not going to be out there doing what everybody else is doing. Also, you need to understand what's really happening and what has happened in the past so that you could make your own decision, right? So before anyone understands, so let me start with something very simple. Let me start with something very simple. Before you listen to anyone, make sure that you understand what their record is. I mean, it's easy to say, do this, do that, stock is going to go up, stock is going to go down. This is just talking, and they're talking basically, they're talking up their game, they're talking out their portfolio. So you need to be able to see what these people have done. You go to my channel, look at every day I'm posting a video and I'm showing how my portfolio is doing. 1.7 million, right? I started 2 years ago. Uh, and I could show you exactly what's happening so you could see if it's working or not working. And maybe it gives you some idea. That's the most important thing. So make sure you know what these people are selling you, quote unquote, but make sure that you know what they've done. So if Warren Buffett tells you, hey, listen, you know what? It's time to sell, yeah, maybe you should listen to what he says. For example, Warren Buffett sold his position when everybody was buying. He sold his position in the month of June and July. He unwound, he sold his stock position on Apple, and he sold B of A, right? Position that he had. The other thing that Warren Buffett does very well is that he only buys what he understands. He does not buy crypto. He doesn't buy Bitcoin. He doesn't buy real estate because he does not understand. And he's not a stupid man, but he needs to understand what it is that you're investing into. That is very important. So that's the first thing you need to know, right? And so for him, I guess you should listen if he has something to say because he's got a track record, right? He made plenty of money and he's a billionaire. Another guy that you should listen to, besides me, is you could listen to Michael Burry. Michael Burry made a lot of money in 2008 because he was able to predict the financial crisis and he profited from it, not by buying stocks. Okay, he did a bunch of different things, which I would explain in some future video. So that's kind of, or Jim Simmons, although you will never know about Jim Simmons because he's an investor, he's a hedge fund. I mean, he died, obviously, but he will not tell you what's in his portfolio. Okay, so these are anyone else, they could tell you a lot of things, lots of things. You need to be able to verify. If you can't verify, then don't listen to what they're saying. And you will see most of the time that the record does not hold. So keep that in mind going forward. So perspective. Let me give you an idea for perspective, right? Recession. Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? Well, first of all, recession. First, you have a recession, then you have layoffs, and then you see it. So you can't say, oh, we're in a recession right now. Why? Because look at the numbers. The numbers do not point to a recession. The numbers that are coming out. When I say the numbers, I'm talking unemployment, right? How many days people are looking for jobs and things like that. Right now, the data does not show you. Now, of course, some people are going to tell you, yeah, but obviously it's backward looking. They're not showing it to you because the recession is happening right now. And therefore, in 6 months from now, you will see the numbers. Well, but how do you know what's happening right now? You're just guessing. No one knows what's happening. Nobody's out there running around figuring out who's got a job, who doesn't. All they're telling you is the numbers. The numbers, there is some slowdown. I'm not saying we're expanding, right? There's some slowdown in the economy. That is true. But that's it. If you tell me there's a recession now, I don't know. Now, of course, you will see very often people tell you, recession, it's a recession, the stock is going to crash, stock is going to crash. And they're saying all the time. Eventually, they're going to be right, right? What is it? Clock is right twice a day, right? So obviously they're going to tell you that. But what we're going to do with that information, right? If they keep telling you the same thing, and nothing is happening, right? But then again, if there's someone who tell you there's a recession, they will not know until after it happened. They will tell you after the jobs are declining, then you have recession. So don't tell me there's a recession because you don't know. Right now we're seeing slowdown because these are the numbers that we're seeing, and this is important because the Fed usually is data dependent. You mean the Fed is not predicting anything because they don't want to get fired. They're going to say, listen, I'm looking at the data that tell me there's inflation, I'm going to do something. The data doesn't tell me there's inflation, I'm not going to do anything. Why? Because otherwise I'm just gambling. I'm just thinking. I'm just theorizing, and it's not happening, right? So that's the first thing. Worry about what you need to worry as an investor. The second thing that's important is you should worry about what no one is talking about. That's right. Well, if nothing is talking right, if nobody's talking about it, then how do I know about it? I know. And that's the secret. That is the secret. That is what you need to do. You need to worry about what no one is thinking about right now. Of course, you're going to say, well, there's going to be a World War III? No, I'm not talking. Let's not get that crazy. But for example, topic that people should be talking about, and I'm not talking you finding out, that thing that no one is talking about. That's very difficult. That's a black swan. I'm talking maybe that's few people are talking about. A few people, and yet nobody's paying attention. A few people are talking about risk. Lots of people are talking about return. A few people are talking about risk. Right? A few people are talking about the debt. You should worry about the debt. I did a video yesterday on it. Look at it. Tells you that we're having some issues placing some of the auction in the treasury market. Not a big deal. I mean, they sold 25 billion. It's not like it didn't sell, but there's a little bit of inkling. So that you need to worry about. Right? So, and you're going to tell me, okay, great. So, fine. So I'm worried about something, and I think this is going to happen. How do I make money off of that? It depends if it's a good thing or if it's a bad thing. If it's a bad thing, you could make money. If it's a good thing, you could make money. How do you make money? It's very easy. What you do, you buy options, long dated options, long dated, not for Tuesday, unless you really know what's happening on Tuesday. But if you don't know what's happening, you wait. So you wait a certain amount of time. You wait, and then you see what happens. And then you buy an option, maybe up to 2 years. Right? And if something happens, then you make money. If nothing happens, you little. But at least you protect yourself. Because at the end of the day, what a lot of people don't do, a lot of people do not focus on the risk. They focus mostly on the return. So worry about what we don't hear about. So look around. During COVID, Bill Gates was saying, guys, I've been financing all these companies, all these trials for having to do with COVID, and I think we may have a problem. Nobody cared about it because they said, "Well, we're going to close the country. Are you nuts? It's never going to happen. This is not China. We're not going to walk around with masks. We're not going to hush and run into stores, to get supplies." He did tell you. In 1998, this woman called Brooks LeBourne, I did a video on her like 2 years ago. Take a look at it. She said, guys, credit default swap are going to tank the market. We're going to have a problem. We're going to have a huge amount. In 1998, it happened almost 10 years before. So some people out there are telling you what's going on, but they're not barking every single day telling you, Be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. Now, they just say it once and then they move on because they got other things to do. So that you need to buy. So, and the thing with the options that I'm talking about is that the way to make money, you don't try to predict anything, right? Because you can't. What you do is you protect yourself. You need to protect yourself. Everything that I hear when I listen to these things, I listen to these things every day, right? To see where the market is going, what people are thinking. It's all about very, very minute sets of information. What is the Fed going to do? Are we in a recession? What's going on with employment? Is am I going to make money on Nvidia? So we are all concentrated on this tiny, tiny universe. Nobody really is talking about the debt, right? Nobody is thinking what else is it that we're not thinking about. Nobody is talking about the climate and how this potentially could impact us, right? Nobody is having a perspective. The reason why this is not happening is because of social media. Everything focuses on one thing, and the same way in politics, where we're kind of focused. To give you a sense of history, right? People, they were think of it this way: there's that kind of three broad, very broad themes out there, right? The first one was before, you know, before World War II. At that time, we were kind of having a good time. The revolution, industrial revolution, things kind of right. This was one area of the world, and then World War II happened, and everything started to move faster. Right, we because of war, we were able to create lots and lots of opportunity. We were able to build. I mean, believe it or not, in World War I, they used chemo to kill people, and then they realized, hey, these people don't have cancer. True story. So they started using the chemo, the gas that they were using in the tranches in 1914, 1918 to then cure cancer, or at least to fight cancer. Um, and the same thing with weapons, and the same thing with lots of different things, right? So they were able to do it. So it made us better. And then, of course, after the war, guess what? Everybody made out great because after the war, we were much more efficient. And then we created things, we designed. Why do you think this was a great generation in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s? Because all of these invention came to fruition and we were building things, we were making things. People working at GM or Ford could retire on their pension, right? And that kind of created a lot of wealth in the US, and now the US were number one in the world. But then, starting in 1980, and this is where it's of interest to us, to 2000, it became a financial thing, right? Everybody got involved in the stock market. Everybody wanted to make money. Remember the movie Wall Street? So then we start to create financial instrument, the LBO market, right? That people understood and didn't understand, but basically we were creating wealth through the financial. We went keep believe it or not, most of the inventions that we have today were created in the 40s and 50s and the 60s. Apart from the internet, I mean, the car, the light, all these things were created before. We haven't created many, 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 many new things of importance today. Apart from the internet, AI has been around for a while. I'm talking about actual invention, right? So in the 80s, that's what happened. We were basically feeding off the beast through the financial instruments. And of course, that happens to be where we had lots of Nobel Prizes given to people that nobody cared about. Markowitz on the portfolio theory. Then there was this guy that created the the efficient market hypothesis, saying that the market is efficient. So all these, so people got involved. We created the 401k. Everybody wanted to make money in the stock market in 1980, and boom, we started to get it in 1987 with the stock market dropping 20% in one day. Of course, lots of people made a lot of money. Michael Milken. I don't know if you know the guy. Lots of money was made in the 80s and then in the 90s, and then we had the financing, and the stock market went up. It dropped 20% in one day. That should have been a warning, and it went back up. Of course, they ask, what happened on that day? Why did we lose money in 87, 20%? Nobody could actually answer that question, believe it or not. All these people decided to sell. And then it started again. from 1987, we went all the way to 1999, and boom, we had another disastrous crash having to do with the dot-com bubble. The Nasdaq collapsed almost 50%. It took 15 years for you to be able to do it. So there was a lot of things happening. Running out of battery. There was a lot of things happening at that time, right? So then you figure, well, okay, so all right, so the dot-com bubble, where nobody told you to invest in those stupid stocks anyway. Okay, and then 2008, bam, enormous amount of money was lost with the 2008 crisis. Nobody had money. Nobody wanted to lend money. There was no liquidity. Like on Monday, what happened with Japan? To Japan, this was happening across the board, and I was there. I saw it. Made lots of money there, but still, people lost a lot of money at that time, right? So 2008. Then you figure, okay, what else? And there was a bunch of crashes here and there along the way, and then of course 2020, COVID. We should have known was, and then 2022. And meanwhile, the Fed is out there lowering rates to zero. It was a big financial mess. And now, believe it or not, we're now entering a new world, right? Because there's no more 0% interest. This is over. You may believe it or not, but that's it. Second, there's this whole thing about the climate. I don't know if you notice around the world, people are much more focused on being very extremists, not just in the US. This is my country, kick the foreigners out. That's not just the US. Europe, everything is either right or either left, right? We don't have this anymore. We have bipartisan. Look what happened in England with the situation with Brexit. We don't want to be part of Europe. We want to be alone. Whoa, are you serious? Yep. Okay. And then France same thing is happening, and then it's happening in Italy, and in the U.S. Right? The topic that we talk about most is immigration. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Legal or illegal, who cares? The point is, but the topic that we should be talking about, the debt, but we're not talking. So, and then of course, in addition to then the climate, right? These are big things that are happening. We don't know exactly what to deal with the climate, and it's changing the temperature and where we're going to get it and the cause and all that. And then of course, inflation is coming back. Everybody is focused on one thing or on the other thing. Nobody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. So that is creating a new a conundrum that is making things more complicated to understand and grasp. Now, and of course the debt, right? All these countries are overly indebted, again, because in starting 1980, 2000, the central banks start investing, not investing, but pumping lots of money in the in the industry, in the economy, reducing rates to zero. So now they're trying to manage that. But the point for you as an investor to make sure you make money, yes, but you don't lose any. That's also very important, right? Is that, so how is this going to play out? Because now you've got the AI thing in the middle, right? We're talking about people not being able, unless you're a hairdresser, AI is going to take your job. How? Well, we'll see how it's developing. We were thinking that somehow blockchain was going to come in, right, and replace a central bank, because blockchain is only one kind of Bitcoin. I mean, there's a finite amount. It's a good inflation hedge. But then again, what is it really? But the governments don't really want it. I mean, at least it depends which government you're talking about. But now AI is I mean, look at the valuation that you got for NVIDIA. It's a crazy numbers. The point now, we're entering a third phase. And that third phase could be great, right? AI comes in. I mean, if it's NVIDIA stock, look how great it is. We're coming in, everything is done. We could focus on other things. You have different kind of jobs, more plentiful jobs. Remember the American industrialization that started in the 30s and the 40s, right? That created lots of jobs. But it could still be a bad thing. And of course, in the middle of all that, not to be too political, but the middle class in this since the 40s, the 50s, and all that money that was made on Wall Street, shrunk and shrunk, or at least got hit more. At the middle class, it was great at some point. Now, not so good, right? So then you vote for people that tells you, you know what, let me help you. Not just in this country, not being specific here. Other countries also, they did exactly the same thing. And of course, when you're closing into yourself, then you have a tendency to say, well, something I don't understand, people coming in my country, maybe we should keep them out so that they don't take our jobs. It's a little more complicated than that, unfortunately. But the point is, there are lots of, and you need to understand that. You need to understand this dynamic if you want to make money in the stock market, because it's going to impact you, right? Look what happened on Monday. You were in, and you came to work on Monday, and you lost a thousand points from the Dow. How? How did that happen? I just showed up. Or what? What do you mean Japan is redoing his, and so what? All the employment numbers, right? So unfortunately, the top people will always make the money, and the reason they make money is because they know what's happening. They're playing again, like I said, three-dimensional chess. They're not playing single chess. So you need to understand that, right? So you need to look forward. Of course, it's not easy. What am I supposed to look for? I don't know. Someone needs to tell me. But if they tell you, it's too late. If they tell you it is too late, you need for yourself to educate yourself to know what you think is going to happen. If you cross the street, close your eyes, you know what's happening, right? You need to predict against the unpredictable. Let's put it this way. Let me give you a very simple way to think about it. You want to buy a bike, right? What do? Well, obviously, I want to protect myself. Okay, so how do you protect yourself? I'll put a helmet on. Okay, but if you're going to use a helmet, right? I mean, if you're going to make use of the helmet, that means that you have an accident. I don't know. Is that a great way to do it? Now, of course, I'm not saying don't wear a helmet, because this is a figure of speech, because you don't know what's going to happen. But the point is, it's like wearing a helmet, and you know that the helmet works when you have an accident. Okay, what you want to do is you want to avoid having the accident. That's what you want. So when you listen, and you listen to most of the people out there, they're telling you put a helmet on, right? They're telling you be careful. They're telling you, well, we think this is what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. Protect yourself. What you should be thinking is, I want to know what's ahead in the road. But nobody's really telling you that, right? They're not. They tell you what they think is happening, but what do you think is happening? What do you think is ahead of the road? What do you think is going on with the economy right now? But unfortunately, everybody's talking about it. That topic is dry. Right? Got people on both sides. Now, of course, like I always said, if the topic is confusing and it goes up and down, that's great because you take advantage of it. But if it's not, then you want to take advantage yourself. You need to take advantage of the market yourself. You need to think about forward. So, for example, what's going on next week? Next week is an important week on Wall Street. Why? Because next week on Tuesday, you're going to have the consumer price and the producer price index on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you're going to have the CPI. So now we're going to find, is there inflation or not? Well, at least in the past. Remember, this is not what's happening today. That's what's happening last month, right? And there's going to be a non-farm payroll, and the second quarter earnings are coming due. We're going to hear about Walmart, so you could see how these companies are doing. But right now, based on the number that we're seeing today, things are okay. We're not having huge amount of issue here. So be careful that they pull you one way or they pull you the other way. You need to understand what is happening. Okay, my friends? So we'll see you next week. Let's make some money. Follow my look at all my portfolio, which I will represent again on Monday, and hopefully you make some money, or at least you protect what it is that you have, and you do not lose any money. Talk to you.